What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. And with the NBA season about to get underway tomorrow, I want to get this video out of what I think these teams are going to do in the regular season and maybe give some insight on what I think will happen in the playoffs. But it is the 75th year, so it's going to be interesting to see what teams are going to be at the top, what teams are going to be at the bottom. Keep in mind, I'm no extreme basketball analyst. I'm just a fan of the game. Mildly, I'd say. I mean, I know maybe a bit more than the average fan does, but at the same time, I'm probably going to get a lot of these wrong. So, we're just going to get right into it. We got the champs. That is obviously teams I think they're going to be competing for a ring this year. Contenders, teams that are going to be in the mix in the playoffs, fighting hard. 500, they're going to be all right, but they're just going to be meddling around that 500 record. They're just not there yet, and they may be decent, but they're just not at the position where they want to be maybe another year or two, so they just may not be good enough. And then yikes is like they are really bad / rebuilding. And yeah, so starting off with the Atlanta Hawks, who had a good playoff run last year, and they want to build off that, I'm sure. But Trae Young is kind of the key to that success, and if he's going to deal with injuries again, it's going to be hard to say if they're going to be in that contenders tier or 500. I personally think they're going to be in that 500 tier because I just don't know if they can make another deep playoff run. I don't see it so far. Next up, we got the Boston Celtics. They're just kind of mediocre last year, and I think, yet again, they're just going to be in that sub 500 range. They're just not a top team in the East, in my opinion. They have good players. They just got to make it all come together. Brooklyn Nets, obviously, they're going to be pushing to become champs. Yes, they got knocked out early, a bit more earlier than they expected, but they're going to be pushing to win that ring with that core. But with Kyrie being out, I kind of forgot about that. With Kyrie being out, that's kind of a problem. So I'm going to bump them down to contenders. Sorry, Nets fans, but they're still definitely contenders. They're still the NBA elite. But to push for, to be NBA champs, I don't know. I don't see it. Next up, the Chicago Bulls. A lot of big offseason additions. They may be all right this year. I'm gonna put them in 500. They can maybe squeak in as the 8 or 7 seed potentially. They made some decent additions with Caruso. I don't know about Lonzo Ball. They got DeMar DeRozan, so they're building a core there. But is it going to be enough to battle in the East? So that is the big question. Next up, we got the LA Clippers. Also, I would say they're contenders, just maybe a piece or two away from getting over the hump. But they have a history of choking in the playoffs. Must be a Clippers curse at this point because not even Kawhi Leonard can get him to the NBA Finals. But I still think they are the NBA elite. But like I said, maybe a piece or two, and they would get bumped up in the champs. Charlotte Hornets. I mean, I'd say they're kind of meh. I think they need another year to develop LaMelo Ball and just get the core around him going. I don't see them, pushing to be a top team in the East. I don't see them even being in the mix, honestly. So I think they're just a year or two away. Cleveland, they're just in yikes, man. They're just still trying their best to recover from LeBron leaving, basically. So I just don't see them, doing very good at all for another season. They are just gotta load up on them draft picks and go from there. Denver Nuggets, they are contenders. While they kind of went out, they probably wanted to go farther than they did, in the playoffs last year. But I still think they have a good core. Just the same thing like the Clippers, a piece or two away from moving them up in that champs tier. Houston Rockets, yikes, they're rebuilding. Not a fan of Jalen Green, but I'm a Pistons fan, so maybe I got some bias against them. But I just they're just down rebuilding, and I don't really see them doing much competing throughout the year. Los Angeles Lakers, no way I'm putting them in champs, but they are contenders. They have LeBron. LeBron has the experience, we know that. But they got a lot of old guys. And that could hurt them. They need to get some youth on the bench. If they can do that, maybe they can make a push for the championship. But they still have a decent core. It's just how often are those guys going to need to rest? Next up, we got the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks. They managed to bring a lot of their key pieces back. I believe only Tucker was their only guy to leave. They're looking like a solid team. Giannis is looking great. Easily going to push to go back-to-back for sure. Next up, the Miami Heat. So they had a kind of bit of a sloppy year last year, but they got Kyle Lowry, and I really have a personal bias of liking the Miami Heat because Jimmy Butler, Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson, they're a decent core, but they just got to get it going. But with that being said, I think they're just going to be around that 500. That 500 tier. They're just going to be trying to work things out. And if they can, maybe they'll jump up to contenders. But to start off, I think I'm going to have them in the 500 tier. Next up, we got the Dallas Mavericks, who went on the second round against the Clippers. They had that tough series lead, and they blew it. And, that kind of scares me as what the future is going to look like for Doncic and the core. But I still think they're contenders. The West is going to be an absolute battle. I mean, look at these four right here. That could be your top four in the West right there easily. But I do think the Mavericks have what it takes to build a good team. They're just getting there. It's like the same thing with the Nuggets and the Clippers. They need an additional piece to help out Doncic, and I think they can go far from there. New Orleans Pelicans, they're just meh. Zion Williamson can't do it all. I know they had a good finish, like good second half, but they still kind of missed out on the playoffs. I just don't really see them doing much again. Like I said, they got to get some players to help out Zion, and maybe they can get in that 500 tier. The Knicks, who had a really good comeback year. Was it a fluke? Was it not? Was Julius Randle a fluke? We don't know. He's getting a lot of money. Personally, I'm just going to put him in 500. It's going to be a battle in the East. I just don't see them being at the top yet again, and that's just my take on it. Next up, we got the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're just waiting for all the kids to grow up because, man, all those draft picks, they go on for ages, it seems like. So they're just rebuilding. Nothing wrong with that, but it's probably going to be another year where they get beat up a lot. Next, we have the Orlando Magic. Just kind of mad. Nobody really stands out to me on that team, but they are developing the core nicely. Like, everybody can work together, but not enough star power to beat out other teams in the East, in my opinion. Next up, we got the Trailblazers. I'd say they are just 500. Lillard's great, obviously. McCollum's decent, but he kind of had some screw-ups here and there. But after that, it kind of falls off the cliff with their depth. And, yeah, I think they're just going to be battling with these other four teams up here. They're going to get beat up a lot by them, and that's going to cause some problems with their record. So next up, we got the Indiana Pacers. I mean, they always do decent, so I'm going to put them in that 500. They always find a way to squeak into the playoffs, so I think they'll be able to stay, have a 500 record at least or around it. But I don't see them being anything crazy personally. That's just kind of my take on it. Next up, we got the Detroit Pistons, my hometown team. I think they're just going to be meh. They're shaping up that core with Grant and Stewart. Cade Cunningham's here. It's going to be a blast, but I don't think it's enough to battle teams like the Nets and the Bucks. It's not enough. Probably going to get beat up a lot, but I think we can do a lot better than, these other three teams down here personally, but that could just be some bias. Next up, we got the Sacramento Kings. There's just nothing there for me personally. I just don't see the appeal. They don't have anything going for them personally. And, that's kind of my take on it. Next up, we got the Phoenix Suns. Obviously contenders, but Chris Paul is winding down. They got to have a lot of things go right to go back to the finals this year. And can they do that? I personally don't know, but they do have a good core. I know they're having contract issues with DeAndre Ayton, I believe. So they got to work some things out there, and I easily are contenders. Next, we got San Antonio Spurs. They're just mad. They're just kind of there, kind of winding down from their glory days and just trying to reshape the core. Don't think they're going to do anything crazy. Philadelphia 76ers. So this is interesting. Ben Simmons is not reporting to the team. That kind of screws him over. However, Joel Embiid was, beast this year, but can he repeat that? Can he stay healthy? I want to be, 76ers fans have already struggled enough. I'm going to put them in contenders because the East, after the Nets and Bucks, it's kind of a battle. And maybe the 76ers will capitalize on that. And I know they were the 1 seed this year, but they were not the best team in the playoffs, obviously, with Simmons. So, got to go from there. Toronto Raptors, they're just kind of meh. They still got Pascal Siakam, but they lost Lowry. They're just kind of winding down from that 2019 team. I just don't really see them doing much this year personally, but maybe they could squeak in. Utah Jazz, they're contenders. They're pretty good. They always are in the mix, keeping it up, staying up there in the top of the West. But are they going to be able to get past the first or second round? I personally don't know. All right, this is going to be polarizing. The Golden State Warriors, we really don't know what they could do. Klay Thompson is coming back to help out Curry. The team is revitalized, I guess you could say. So who knows what they can do, but I really do like the Golden State Warriors. I think they can go back to that contender tier. They are no longer in yikes or meh, in my opinion. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Washington Wizards, they're going to go in yikes. They're not going to repeat what they did last year. They're just going to be at the bottom again, and that's really all I got for them. Memphis Grizzlies, they're a 500 team. They got a good core. Ja Morant is decent. Jaren Jackson's all right, but they got to build around it. And with those other teams in the West, I just don't know if they compete. And then lastly, the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think they'll improve. They hit rock bottom kind of last year, but they had Anthony Edwards to help them out with that. I think they can't go anywhere but up from here. And that is what I think it's going to look like for the 2021-2022 NBA season. So who do I think is going to win the championship? I think it's going to be the Bucks. Without a doubt, it's going to be the Bucks. You know what? Let's move the Brooklyn Nets up here because Durant and Harden is still a good core to work with. Although I don't personally like Harden, I think they can still get by with those two. And yeah, and we can. I can't see myself moving any of these guys up. I think this is the perfect list for me. I think we can see the Bucks repeating, but who would it be out of the West? That is a great question because these 5 right here can easily be in the conversation, you could say. I mean, maybe not the Mavericks, but the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Lakers, and the Suns. Maybe we could even be a repeat of the Suns and Bucks, but I don't know. The Suns, Chris Paul, they relied on him a lot. He's not getting any younger, so that is kind of the big issue there. But yeah, guys, tell me, what do you think of my season predictions? I'm most likely going to be wrong. Feel free to rip me in the comments, politely, but feel free. But yeah, tell me who you think is going to win the NBA Finals this year, and who do you think is going to make that top 75 NBA players list? I'm also very interested to see what that's going to look like. So yeah, guys, tell me what you think down below. Feel free to like and subscribe. Have a good day. I'll see you guys later.